Welcome back, guys. So in today's video our topic is fingerprints. I hope you all are doing great. So coming back to the topic, fingerprints. So as you know that the fingerprints are the most crucial evidence which we can find near the crime scene, right? See, because fingerprints are unique to every individual, we can separate the individuals based on the fingerprint and fingerprint patterns and everything. So, today we are going to study about this. This is a very important topic which you have to study under forensic science. Our palms and planar surface of our feet are covered by a layer of corrugated skin. So, when you observe your palms and your fingers closely, then you can find some of the lines running through from one side to the other side, and they make different kinds of designs or some kind of patterns, right? So if you observe, you can know what is fingerprints. So why are they located? Why are they on our palm and on our feet? Because they ensure a firm grip and resist slippage. So whenever you walk also, what they will do means they will have a grip when you are walking or whenever you are holding any kind of objects in your hand. So they may help us to have a good grip and resist slippage. Okay, they will protect us from being slippage or like that. Okay, so those patterns whatever you're observing on your fingers or on your palms, they will be observed, they will be like looking like this. Some there will be like higher parts, some there will be like lower parts, again higher and lower parts. So whatever the part which is elevated here is known as papillary or friction ridges. Okay, on the short form we also call them as ridges. So whatever the elevated part is there, they are known as papillary or friction ridges, or in short we call them as ridges. And whatever the down part is there, the down part valleys formed between the two ridges are known as furrows or grooves. See, this is one ridge, this is one ridge, and in between these two ridges some there is a lower part. So this valley formed between the two ridges is known as grooves. We normally call them as ridges and grooves. So these patterns on our fingers form the fingerprints. Okay, so these patterns form the fingerprints. Now, the science of identification through the examination of the fingerprints is known as dactyloscopy. Remember this word. Okay, so dactyloscopy means the science of identification, means identifying the fingerprint. How? Through examination of the fingerprint is known as dactyloscopy. The definite patterns formed by these fingers offer a means of identification. As I said, there are different kinds of patterns for every individual. So, through that, we can identify and separate the individuals, right? So, the pattern, ridge characteristics together help establish the identity. Whatever the patterns are there, whether they're in a circular like that, or whether they're in a box kind of shape, whether they are in a straight line or a curved line, those patterns and the ridge characteristics together help the establishing of the identity. Remember this thing, okay? It's kind of important. Sometimes in some prints between the fully developed friction ridges, there will be number of finer and less developed fragmentary ridges appear, which are called as nascent ridges, which means, see, they are not considered for the purpose of identification as they lack permanence of fully developed ridges. Yeah, we have ridges, grooves, and we have patterns. But what happens to some people in some kind of fingerprints? There will be some part of the fingerprint which is not fully developed. Okay, so they will be like a partially developed like that. So what happens, those are known as nascent ridges, and if we find any fingerprint and it's containing any nascent ridges, then they are not considered for the purpose of the identification because they lack permanence of fully developed ridges. Now this is the most important part. Who is the father of fingerprints? Sir Francis Galton. We have already discussed about this, right? So you already know what who is the Galton, and he is the father of fingerprinting. But the other thing, most important thing which you have to remember is father of fingerprint in India is Dr. Lalji Singh. Remember this his name, and who is the father of the fingerprint in India is Dr. Lalji Singh. So sometimes they're gonna ask question in such a way, like they will ask father of fingerprints or father of fingerprint in India. So just with the one word, you will be confused whether it's Francis Galton or Dr. Lalji Singh. Okay, so remember these both names. Then, individuality of fingerprints. So there are some of the individual characters of the fingerprints. So first one is uniqueness. As I said, two different fingerprints can never be identical. The rich patterns differ from individual to individual. Even all the identical twins studied so far have stood the test of the uniqueness of the fingerprints. Uniqueness, which means unique. So, no two fingerprints can have the same kind of patterns, the same kind of rich characteristics. Okay, at some part they will be different from each other. Whatever the rich patterns will be there from the fingerprints, they will be completely different for one individual to other individual. So even you can see some of the twins, you think the twins can have the same kind of fingerprints, right? But no, even till now whatever the studies have been taken up on the identical twins, even their fingerprint had also shown uniqueness of the fingerprints, it seems. So uniqueness is the first characteristic or property of the fingerprints. So no two different fingerprints can have identical. Okay, every person fingerprint is unique. That's why in many of the biometric systems also fingerprints are majorly used. When you talk about your phone itself, your phone has fingerprint lock, and in some of the lockers or safe locker cases or any other kind of machines, you can see that fingerprint can be a biometric used. Okay, then permanence. The rich patterns on the finger never change during the life of an individual. From childhood to maturity, the rich patterns grow and expand, but no change takes place. Permanence is what? Being permanent. Whatever the rich patterns you are having on your finger, they will be permanent during the lifetime. Till you are dead, the whatever the rich patterns will be there, they will be like that. There will be no change undergone in them. Until and unless some kind of scratch marks or some kind of surgery happens, of course they will change because of some, if you are doing any kind of surgery or any kind of scratch mark, cut marks are there. So when you keep that as exception, the rich patterns on the fingers will never change during the life of the individual. Okay, from the childhood to the maturity, the rich patterns will grow but and expand, but there won't be any change occurred in them. Then universality. Every individual is born with friction rich patterns. Means if you have fingers, if you have hand, if you have fingers, then of course the rich patterns will be formed. Okay. Then simplicity of classification. Classifying the similar patterns of fingerprint. Computerization of fingerprint records had made retrieval still more easy and fast. Simplicity of the classification, which means, as I said, there will be patterns of fingerprints. So, according to the patterns of fingerprints, we can classify. And the computerization of the fingerprint record had made this more easy and fast. As you know that the technology have been advanced in every uh, field, even in the forensic science field also, it is improved. So whatever the fingerprint records will be there, they will also be recorded in the computerization, in the computer technique. Okay, where the computer will be analyzing the fingerprints and it can match with one fingerprint and other fingerprint, and it can say that whether the both samples are matching with each other or if they are differ from each other, and in what way they can be differing from each other. Okay, so computerization of fingerprints record have made it still more easy and fast. Now, how are fingerprints left? Till now we are studying about this is a fingerprint, that's fingerprint, and fingerprint contains these all that all things. But how fingerprints are left on a kind of surface thing? Moisture and grease on finger transfer the ridges onto the ridge patterns, okay, ridge patterns onto the surfaces such as a glass, metal, or paper, or onto any kind of different surfaces such as walls and switchboards and everything. Okay. So, as you know that you have sweat pores, right? So when, of course, the sweat glands will be there, and we have sweat pores, and sweat will be released from your hands, right? So what happens also? They also kind of make um, what when you have sweat on your fingers, on your hands, and when you touch any kind of substance, then what happens, your fingerprints will be left behind on that kind of object. Okay, so the moisture and grease on the fingers transfer the ridge surfaces or the patterns to the glass, metal, or papers, or in different kinds of surfaces. So I'm pretty sure that you have did this experiment in your college premises, maybe, because I have did this. So I know that maybe you have an idea about how fingerprints are generated and everything. So these impressions are called as fingerprints. So how fingerprints are used in forensic? First one is recovery. From crime scene by physical methods like applying powder, and there are other chemical methods too. So the main part where you can get the fingerprints is, first of all, is the crime scene. After crime scene, of course, we'll collect the fingerprints from the suspect, and from the, if the victim is present, from the victim and suspects and everything. Okay, and then what they'll do is they will match the fingerprints. Then analysis. Examine the patterns of unknown fingerprint with the known fingerprint. Okay. uh, this comes under the principle of comparison, that only a fingerprint can be compared with a fingerprint, only a blood can be compared with the blood sample. So in the same way, the patterns of unknown fingerprint will be analyzed with the known fingerprint. Then comparison, searching similarities and dissimilarities between the two prints. As you said, there will be like some kind of rich characteristics, right? So I'm going to explain what are those characteristics and how they're gonna check whether one fingerprint is matching with the other, with the help of some of the rich characteristics, small minute what minute things will be present on the fingerprints, which will differ from one fingerprint to other fingerprint. So there is no comparison. So this is about a small brief intro about the fingerprints, how fingerprints are formed, what are fingerprints, and father of fingerprints, and why fingerprints are individual to everyone, and uniqueness, and how fingerprints are left, and how fingerprints are used in forensic science. So in further video, we're going to know about the patterns of fingerprints. Okay, we're going to know about the patterns of fingerprints, and how we can collect fingerprints, because there will be some kind of, we'll apply a powder. So I'm going to talk about them. Okay, and that's all for today, and thank you. If you have liked the video, just like it and share it with your forensic science friends. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.